Okay, so let's dive in. Have you ever stood at, like, a major life intersection, a career change maybe, or a big relationship decision?
Oh, absolutely. Or even just that general feeling of uncertainty.
Exactly. And you find yourself asking that, well, that huge question, what is my purpose? What am I actually supposed to be doing?
It's probably one of the most human questions there is, isn't it? And
Hmm.
what's really interesting about the spiritual reflection we're looking at today is how it tackles that struggle.
It doesn't just nod along.
No, it suggests that maybe the way we're even searching, it's kind of flawed from the start.
Right. We often treat purpose like we're searching for a specific point on a map,
Mm.
a job title, place, some big clear
A
destination.
GPS coordinate, yeah.
But this source material, it sort of pulls us away from that map idea. It says the answer isn't really found in those external things, the job, the partner, the visible success.
Mm-hmm. It's more about an internal shift, a transformation.
And the writer captures that initial feeling so well. They mention asking, Tuhan sebenarnya apa mamu untukku? Which is basically,
God, what do you actually want from me? That raw, desperate plea.
that's the starting point. The author says initially their goal was pretty simple. Live well, don't hurt others, maybe you blessed along the way. Reasonable enough.
Seems fine on the surface.
But even then, there was this little whisper. Is there something bigger?
Ah, that persistent question.
Yeah. And this deep dive is really about what happens when you decide to chase that bigger thing and, well, how confusing that chase can be at first.
You'd think asking the big spiritual questions would lead to immediate clarity, right? A sign, an answer.
You hope so.
But this source describes the exact opposite. You look for the map, and what you get is silence.
Okay, let's unpack that. Segment 1.
Yeah.
This paradox of seeking direction and finding du'aya has silence. The author prayed for that vision, that clear answer.
I got quiet instead. Profound quiet.
So what's the function of that silence, according to this reflection?
Well, it seems to be the first, maybe unexpected, tool for redirection. It forces you away from just praying with a shopping list of requests.
Your request list
Yeah.
prayer, yeah.
Exactly. The author realized they had to stop just listening with their ears for some booming voice or instruction
And start listening.
with the heart. It sounds a bit cliche, maybe, but it means moving from expecting information to seeking connection.
Why does silence do that? Why not just, send the divine memo?
Well, think about it. If you just get an instruction, what your focus is on doing the task, right? Success is completing the assignment.
Okay.
But if you encounter silence and you still want to find the will behind it, you're kind of forced to engage with the person, not just the plan.
So it shifts from transactional.
To relational. Exactly. You're pushed towards intimacy because the alternative, just giving up because it's quiet, feels wrong if you're genuinely seeking.
But it gets even harder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The source says it wasn't just silence. Carefully made plans actually started falling apart.
Yes. Doors slamming shut. Efforts feeling like total, utter failure.
You're praying for that Jilan Bebas Hambatan, the clear, open highway.
And you hit a brick wall. Or maybe a concrete one. Feels pretty solid.
We instinctively see that wall as a wrong way sign, don't we?
Mhm.
Proof we messed up.
Of course. That's the logical conclusion. But this source reframes failure completely. The author had this realization. The wall wasn't there just to stop them.
Okay, so what was it for?
It was there to redirect them, to push them onto a different path, one focused on necessary internal growth.
Okay, but let's push back a little. How do you tell the difference between, say, divine redirection through failure and just making a really bad decision? Isn't there a risk in labeling every setback as pembentukan character or character formation?
That's a crucial question, and I think the nuance in the reflection lies in the response to the failure, maybe not just the failure itself.
Meaning?
Well, a poor choice might lead to bitterness, maybe giving up the search entirely. But this divine redirection, even though it's painful, seems to maintain this quiet pull towards something else, something better maybe.
So in this view, the divine will isn't about guaranteeing success, but about shaping you.
Precisely. It's focused on character formation and the setbacks, the struggles. They're the tools, the curriculum, you could say. The struggle is the path.
Wow, okay. So the confusion, the failures, they weren't detours. They were the way.
And that experience, that wrestling with failure, leads directly to the absolute core idea, the big revelation in this piece.
This is the major shift, right?
Yes, this is where it all clicks for the author. They realized that Kendak Allah, God's will, it's fundamentally not about the external stuff.
Not the what or the where.
Exactly. Not the job title, not the specific ministry, not the location on the map. It's entirely about becoming who.
Becoming a certain kind of person.
Specifically, the source uses the phrase rupa dengan Christus, becoming similar to Christ, like reflecting that character.
That feels like a huge weight lifted, actually, for anyone agonizing over finding the right path.
It really is. If you stop chasing an external destiny,
You can start cultivating an internal identity.
yes. And think about how that reframes success and failure. If your purpose is tied to a specific job and that job disappears.
Your purpose feels shattered.
Right. But if your purpose is about becoming a person of certain character, resilient, loving, faithful, then external events, even the really tough ones,
They become opportunities for growth, for formation.
they can only serve to refine that identity. The entire focus shifts from finding some cosmic answer out there to cultivating an inner state of being right here, right now.
And the source emphasizes this wasn't like a sudden lightning bolt moment, was it? No instant clarity.
No, interestingly, the author found connection within the confusion. They felt they met the divine person, the Prabhadinya, who was sort of with them in the mess.
Rather than just getting a neat answer to the why, the Magapa.
Exactly. They found relationship instead of resolution, which is fascinating. If purpose is truly about identity, then that relationship becomes the anchor.
Because circumstances change constantly.
But that relational core, that connection, ideally provides stability through it all.
Okay, so let's make this practical. If the main goal is forming this identity, this who, not finding the big what or where, how does that actually play out day to day?
Right, because it has to translate into action somehow. And this is where the reflection gets really insightful, I think, because it focuses on these seemingly small, consistent acts of loyalty.
Small loyalties, I like that.
The author realized the path to great things wasn't some huge leap, but these daily choices that challenge our natural inclinations, our ego.
Okay, let's look at the examples given. They're quite specific and honestly pretty challenging. First one, learning to forgive the person most difficult to forgive.
Oof. Yeah. Why start there?
Why is that a key to purpose?
Well, think about the internal transformation required for that. It goes against every instinct for self-preservation, for holding on to hurt.
It forces you to dismantle bitterness.
Exactly, which in this framework is like the opposite of the Christ-like identity you're aiming for. You could be doing amazing things externally, but if you're consumed by resentment,
Then that internal who isn't aligned. Okay, that makes sense.
it's an invisible act, mostly, but defines your core.
Second example, learning to give precisely when feeling scarce. Again, totally counterintuitive. When things are tight, you want to hold on, right?
Protect yourself first, that's the world's wisdom. But this challenges that deep spiritual insecurity most of us have.
Giving when you feel you have plenty is one thing.
That's just overflow. Easy.
Yeah.
But giving when you feel you don't have enough time, money, energy, whatever, that's a profound act of trust.
It forces you to redefine where your security actually comes from.
Right. It proves your identity isn't based on what you possess materially or even emotionally.
Okay? And the third small act, learning to serve without needing to be seen, without seeking fame. This one really hits home in our current culture.
Doesn't it? It strips the action of almost any external reward.
It's the ultimate test against personal ambition, maybe.
I think so. In a world obsessed with recognition, likes, shares, influence, serving unseen forces you to purify your motive. Is it truly about the service, about obedience, or is it about feeding your ego?
Your personal brand.
Yeah, your desire for validation. This checks that impulse.
These small loyalties, they feel monumental, actually,
Yeah.
because they require consistency, not just a one-off grand gesture.
Exactly, and they link directly to that scriptural principle the source mentions from Luke 16:10.
Right, the idea that faithfulness in small things leads to trustworthiness in bigger things.
Keseshian dalam halhokesel. Loyalty in the small stuff. That's the takeaway for you, the listener. That's presented as the actual path to fulfilling your purpose.
So you don't need to wait for the big sign, the dramatic calling.
No, you can start discerning and living your purpose right now, today, in these quiet, often difficult choices that nobody else might even notice.
Which leads us nicely to the wrap-up. This reflection makes it clear. Seeking purpose isn't about arriving at some final destination on a map.
No, it's described as a continuous thing, a process. The source uses the word croterion, a dance.
A daily dance.
Yeah, like every day presents choices. Will you choose love over bitterness? Faith over relying just on worldly security. God's will, as you understand it moment by moment, over your own ego.
It's a constant choosing, not a state you just achieve and then you're done.
Right, it's active. And this reframes ambition too, doesn't it? The author realized their personal dreams weren't necessarily rejected or killed off. Filtered, purified maybe. Replaced by something the source calls lebi kikal more eternal. Something with deeper roots.
That brings up that paradox of failure and blessing again.
It's huge. What looked like a blessing, Bearcat, may be that easy path or smooth opportunity.
Could have actually been a trap, Jebakan. Something to distract from real growth.
Potentially. And conversely, what felt like a devastating failure, Kegagalan.
Might have been the very thing saving the speaker from that trap.
Exactly. Failure, seen through this lens, can actually be divine protection. It's a radical reframing.
And where does this leave the author? Do they have all the answers now?
Not at all. The reflection is clear. There's still Masi Banyak mystery. Still plenty of mystery about the future details.
But the anxiety is gone.
Largely, yes. The peace comes not from knowing the plan, but from knowing or trusting who holds the future.
Ah, that shift in focus again.
And that knowledge transforms the whole idea of God's will. It stops feeling like a heavy burden, a biban you have to figure out perfectly.
It becomes more like
An invitation, a beautiful undangan to just walk forward in trust and love, even without all the details. It changes the whole emotional feel of the spiritual journey.
Okay, so let's boil this down. The critical shift you, listening, can take away from this source is discerning purpose is less about pinpointing the direction, the exact road ahead.
And far more about the formation, the kind of person you are becoming as you travel, whatever road you find yourself on.
The most important prayer mentioned right at the end seems to capture this perfectly.
It does. Teach me not to be so busy searching for your will, but to be more busy knowing you, the owner of that will.
Knowing the owner over knowing the plan.
That's the essence.
So if purpose really is about knowing the owner, this final thought from the source, it demands a pretty deep level of commitment, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests obedience is necessary even when you don't understand. Bahkan ketika aku tidak paham, obey even when I don't get it.
Wow.
So the provocative question for all of us, maybe, is this. If we truly buy into prioritizing knowing God over mapping out the perfect plan, believing that our character is the real destination, what's one small act of obedience we could take today?
Even if it feels illogical.
Wow.
Or completely insignificant to the outside world.
That's especially then, perhaps. This source implies that walking even the darkest, most confusing path with simple trust. That is what brings the light, that daily act of trust, that small loyalty. Maybe that's purpose fulfilled right now.